they could mean an awful lot. But of course, the market, relative to maybe a couple of weeks ago, has sort of changed its impression about these tariffs. Many people now thinking, yeah, is Trump really going to put these on, or is this just the first part of his negotiation? Is he looking for something in return? Is he actually wanting those countries to drop their tariffs so that he won't put reciprocal ones on? So it's quite difficult now to know what the outcome of all of these are. And of course, there are so many different countries that the US does trade with. So it's, again, really difficult to try and get a gauge as to, which countries are going to be hit, which sectors are going to be hit. For us at Rabobank, is it going to be, agriculture, to what degree that's going to affect our customers as well? So it's really very complex.
And to me, Damian, that's a key thing, and this is where Jane Foley excels. Agriculture, so it's not aluminium, that's what Jane says, aluminum, whatever. You know what? It's about wheat.
That's right. Well, Jane, you're over in London, and so I have to ask you this. I'm looking at the G10 currencies year to date, and the one that stands out, the only one that was down, well, now actually Swissie's down a year to date, but the British pound. What's going on with pound sterling?
Well, there was, for a very short while, some better news this morning because the Q4 GDP data came out with a very small amount of growth. Now, the Bloomberg survey had suggested nobody had anticipated that there would growth. Everybody thought there'd either be zero or the consensus minus 0.1% on the quarter, which is incidentally also the forecast from the Bank of England last week. So we had better growth. But then, of course, we looked at the breakdown, and what we saw in the breakdown was that there was no growth in the consumer sector. Instead, the growth was coming from government spending, which of course is not optimal. So a better headline, but still an awful lot really for the Chancellor here of the Exchequer to worry about.
I want you to talk to me about the Indian rupee, the Indonesian rupiah, and the Philippine peso. Those are the three high-yielding Asian currencies, and they're all down year to date. What's going on there?
Well, again, these could be some countries that could be hit by the reciprocal tariffs. A lot of emerging market Asia do place tariffs on some of the US exports. So there is some focus on them right now as to whether or not they're going to be in Trump's sights. But really, I think for the markets, we are more concerned about the impact of the G10. I mean, generally, if we look at the performance of the dollar this year, we had that Trump trade all the way through October, November, up until around about the 13th of January. And since then, well, the dollar has fallen as the markets began to think, maybe Trump's tariffs are this negotiation point. Maybe we've overdone it with this Trump trade, and the dollar's sort of settling back. And that is why I think this news about the tariffs that we might get today or perhaps through the next couple of days is going to be important to really set market expectations for how serious is this news.